What's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. Happy Sunday, everyone. It is 2 a.m. here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I am just now getting the Walking Dead um, review slash recap slash discussion on because Saturday night, I went out with my girlfriends for a birthday and shook my groove thing and danced real hard. And the music in the club got so loud until I now have a ringing in my ears and everything kind of sounds a little far away, like I'm listening to people talk from underwater. It's super, super frustrating. And I hope it goes away. If it doesn't go away in a couple of days, I'm definitely going to go to the doctor. But I watch Walking Dead on time, like normal. And I just found it so difficult to hear the dialogue. And, really clearly, like I knew they were talking and I knew they were saying certain things. I could hear certain words and certain tones, but I just couldn't hear the exact, verbiage. So that was kind of frustrating. So what I had to do was wait until it re-aired because I don't DVR. I don't have a DVR. So I had to wait for it to re-air. And I listened to it on I watched it on my iPad, on my pad, my tablet, and put earphones in and just turn the volume down a little bit, of course, not too loud. But when I did that, I heard everything just perfectly. So it works so much better than just trying to turn the TV volume up. So um, I did all that because, hearing or not, the first go around, I realized this episode was packed full of really, really important things. This was a very, very pivotal episode. Every episode after this episode is gonna be jam packed with action. Um, it has no choice. The things that were set in place at the end of this episode dictates the rest of this season, which is coming to a really, really fast paced, high action end in just a few more episodes. So this episode was big. So without further ado, you guys, let's get into The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 14, The Other Side. Okay. Now, when this episode opens, it opens up with sort of a montage, okay? There is a bevy of scenes all set in the hilltop. As a matter of fact, the entire portion of um, this episode, with the exception of maybe about three scenes, is set in the hilltop, okay? So it opens with this montage. Basically, we see the hilltoppers who have vowed to fight with Maggie and Rick. We see them practicing with their knives. We see Maggie and Enid practicing the same movements with their knives. Um, we see Maggie and Enid training together, the two of them training together, and then we see the groups of the Hilltops training, and then we see Maggie and Enid training the Hilltoppers as a team. Like, so they train with each other, Maggie and Enid, and then they train with the Hilltoppers. Show them what to do, how to throw the knives. Well, we also get to see Sasha. Sasha is um, training herself. She's using the same movements in training. Now, Sasha is obviously working with Maggie to help train, obviously working with Jesus and Enid and all of those. But we see another side of Sasha here because she actually looks like she's training with her own personal agenda. Now, I will tell you why this is odd or it stands out for me because in a few minutes. So we see Sasha sort of trying to map out a layout of somewhere, of something. And then we see Jesus in another scene of this montage mapping out, actually drawing out a, a layout of what we can only surmise to be Negan's camp, and we see him then go and hand over to Sasha this layout that he's drawn out for her, and she gives this big smile and then looks up and realizes that Enid sees this exchange between the two of them. This is all in the montage. Then we see um Daryl, and he is sitting in it's dark at this time, and he's sitting on a picnic table, and he is sharpening his knife or whittling or something, and he's got his head down, and you can just tell if you've watched this show at all, you know Daryl is a very um upright person. He's right in your face, you know, type individual. He walks with his head up, his face to the sky, you know, like very, very self assured. And to see him sort of bowed and bent over and hair hanging in his face and his shoulders are slumping, you could just tell he's sad. He is really, really sad. Maggie sees him. She goes over and she gives him a hug, and she gives him, you know, a little squeeze, and then she walks off, and she is wiping her face because in that moment they shared this moment of sadness together. We all know why. And she heads back into the trailer. We then see old yellow bellied, lily livered Gregory, who is the leader over at the hilltop, pouring out the last of his little bit of alcohol. You know, he's a cowardly drunk. And just outside the window of his office, we see Rosita enter into the hilltop gates, and then cue the opening credits. Okay. Up until this point, we have not had any words spoken. All we have had is this montage of scenes, of little things that are going on that is filling in for us what's happening at the hilltop. What has been happening at the hilltop while we have been seeing Rick and Michonne on sexcation and all of this stuff going on with Jadis and the Mad Max Metal Yard, and everything that went on last week as well with the Kingdom. Meanwhile, this is what's been happening at the hilltop. They have been training, they have been planning, they have put a lot of different little things in place, hiding spots, hiding places, knives and guns, mostly knife play. They've really been working hard. Maggie's a very, very, very strong, driven leader, and we see that here at the hilltop. So when the show returns, we see Jesus talking to Maggie, and she's apologizing for them all sort of taking over his trailer. Apparently, Enid as well as Sasha and Maggie all live in and about Jesus's trailer. And so he tells her not to apologize, and he gives her a little back history about how he grew up in a group home, and how, you know, that whole setting never allowed him to get to know people um, in any great depth, you know, friends, family, or boyfriends. And so we learn in this moment that Jesus is gay. I never thought hear myself say that, but yeah, Jesus is gay. So you know, you know, it's a play on words, isn't it? it's amusing, and I think it's meant to be amusing, right? Okay, so let's move forward. Sasha walks up and she hears them talking, and I think she feels a certain way about them talking, but at the same time, I think she feels like, Maggie's going to be okay without her. She hears this conversation between he and Maggie, and I think there's a part of it that feels like she's going to be all right. And so she heads on back into the trailer, and when she gets back into the trailer, she goes into the bullet Bible and pulls out a couple of bullets. At this moment, Enid and Jesus walk into the cabin, and I mean in the trailer, and they find her with the bullet book, and she makes up an excuse, and he tells her you can have the bullets if that's what you want. And then in a little bit more conversation, he realizes Rosita is not here just to train. She's here because you guys are going after Negan, right? And Sasha's like, look, I mean, Rosita's gonna do this. She's gonna do it with or without me. So it might as well be, I might as well go with her. So Jesus says, I'll go with you, and Enid says, I'll go with you too. No, 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 no. You guys are needed here. Maggie needs you guys here. Okay. And, Jesus tries to talk her out of it. She's not hearing it. He leaves out. Enid's there. She tells Enid, here, I've got something for you. Enid really wants her to go ahead and tell Maggie why Rosita is there. Okay. Just this one gesture would change the trajectory of this disaster. It will. It will change the trajectory of this disaster because we learned from Richard last week nothing good can come of going off on your own half cocked. But anyway, Sasha says, here, I've got something I've made for Maggie's baby. Give it to her. And she says, you give it to her yourself. And she tells her, listen, Enid, your job is to protect Maggie. You have to protect her. I get sick of this whole kind of martyrdom type thing. The best way for you to protect Maggie, Sasha, is for you guys all to stay together, not for you to put this undue pressure on a young girl to take care of Maggie, who is obviously going to be a very, very strong leader for the Hilltop Gang or crew. It's for you to not go off half cocked. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sick of these martyrs in this season. But anyway, so um Enid tells her, look, you got about 10 minutes and I'm going to go and tell Maggie everything, which is exactly what you're asking me to do, protect her. And me telling is protecting her. And I'm like, Enid, seriously. I give it to Enid. That's the most mature thing that I've heard from a young person this season. Okay. So Sasha knows what she's got to do. She's already got to load up, pack up, boot up, suit up. Now, so we know this this portion of the show came from episode before last. So this is episode 14. This would have been episode 12 that Sasha went and talked to. Rosita went and talked to Sasha. Okay, so what we're seeing is everything that transpired prior to Rosita entering the gate, and everything that transpired just after Rosita entered the gate. Okay. So what I forgot to mention during the opening montage, we also saw Dr. Carson giving Maggie a sonogram, and her and Enid there together holding hands, and they get a chance to see the baby on the sonogram screen. So, in the moment that Enid tells Sasha she's got 10 minutes, Sasha gets it together. We hear clang, clang, clang. Saviors are coming from the gate, which means Daryl has to hide, Maggie has to hide, and Sasha and Rosita definitely cannot be caught there together. And they definitely can't be caught with those guns. So we see two different scatterings. Boom. we see Sasha and Rosita go into what looks like a wood box, but it really is an opening. It's a covering for an opening in the gate. It's another way of leaving the camp. And Maggie had that suggestion and Sasha followed through on that suggestion by creating this small hiding secret escape route. Okay, so it just looks like a wood box, but it really goes up under the gate and out. And that is what Sasha and Rosita do. They go through this little wood box under the gate and out. Okay, hold that thought. We see Daryl and um, Maggie being hid by Enid down in a cellar. They go down into a cellar, and then inside the cellar, it looks like a regular wall with supplies and stuff on it, but that wall pulls out and they go behind there. Now they can still see through the rack, but they are hidden. Okay, Enid closes up that cellar door and goes on about her way. All right. So we see Simon, who is just makes my skin crawl. This guy is, ugh. I mean, he is slick as boiled okra. Okay, come in and he's got. I mean, they all travel like 20, 30 deep. Like Negan has a lot of numbers. They come in, they have a box. Of course, this mealy mouth, yellow bellied, lily livered Gregory goes over and he starts with the shucking and jiving. Yes, sir. What do you need? What can I do? You want some drink? you know, of course, everybody's not a drunk, Gregory, like yourself. And listen, Simon tells him a lot in this one little bit of conversation. He tells him, "Hey, listen, I'm not into gin. I'm a man of many different tastes and styles, and things change given on." What he's saying is, um I goes with the flow. Okay, so one day I might feel like I'm your friend, and the next day I might want to kill you because I might have to do that to survive. He said he's letting him know I switch around, I change up. I can't be trusted. I'm two-faced. I'm neither hot nor cold. That's what he's saying in this whole scenario. And he tells, Gregory, listen, we're here for someone. We need you to point us in that direction. So we leave that scene and we see um, Maggie going back behind the hiding place, and she calls Daryl a couple of times. Well, he's looking through the cellar door. And he's got this knife in his hand, but he's looking through the cellar door, and she has to call him several times. He is on the brink. Okay, just like Rosita, just like Richard, and um, he really, really wants to get to it with these saviors. Okay, he wants it so bad he can taste it. So she has to call him several times to get him to realize that he has to leave that cellar door and come behind that rack and hide with her, which he does. Okay, then we get to see um, Sasha and Rosita walking, and they are going to look for a car. They're looking for a car they can hotwire. Okay, so they go into this one car. Rosita goes to the driver's door. Sasha goes to the passenger door, and she makes this comment about we need to get siphon some gas. And Rosita's very, very short with her. There's the water bottle over there. You can put the gas in there. And she sees this necklace hanging from Sasha's neck. And Sasha sees her looking and she's like, "You like it?" She's like, "I made it." Okay, so, ooh, awkward. She puts the necklace in, and so they go to the next car, and Sasha kind of tries to make like, "Hey, yeah, so where'd you learn how to make bombs and whatnot?" and you know, did he teach you that? And she says, "No, a friend." You know, and you know, Sasha's like, "Come on, dude. Let's not even. We finna go killing together. Let's not do this." And she tries to have a, and Rosita tells her, "Look, we're not friends. We're going to killing together, but we're not friends. Just because we're going to go kill a man together does not make us friends." And so Sasha wants to walk off. She walks off and she thinks differently of it and comes back and she goes ahead and lets Rosita have it. I mean, okay, fine. That's what you want to do. Fine. This is what I think. I think what we need to do is find a place outside the gate that we can get our sights on Negan and kill him then. And that way we both can leave and walk away from this thing. And Rosita is not hearing that. She is pissed off. And Sasha's like, what's the problem? What's the big deal? And um Rosita tells her, I don't care about living. I want to kill him. I want it to be a sure thing. See, because the last time she missed, she got um Eugene taken. So she wants to make sure that she gets this done right this time. If she got to get right up on him and shoot him through her own ear, she will. Okay? So Sasha just tells her, I'm just trying to figure out a way we can both live. And Rosita's like, I gives a damn about all that. Okay, this is what I want to do. This is what we need to do to get this thing done. Okay. So Sasha's like, fine. So we go back to the hilltop, and we see a moment where um one of Simon's boys are about to go in the cellar, and or his headed toward the cellar. Enid runs up with the basket of veggies and she says, "Hey, I got a basket of veggies here." And he says, "Duh, duh, 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 duh." Use the whole word. Okay, no shortcuts. This tells you the psyche of people. You know what I'm saying? Just that you're dealing with a bunch of really, really completely fractured people, which makes them that much more dangerous. And she's like, okay, vegetables. And she says, here, would you go put this on the truck and then meet me by the garden and I've got some more. He gives that basket back to her and tells her, I don't know who you think you're talking to. I'm over you. I am superior to you. Well, she drops the veggies, and as she's scrambling to pick them up, he sees that she has a knife, the knife she's been practicing with, and he says, I want that knife, and he gives it to her. And she gives it to him because he threatened to cut it off for her if she didn't. So she watches him go towards the cellar and then go down into the cellar. And as he gets down into the cellar, he's looking around, of course, scavenging. He's supposed to be, you know, looking around for something or someone. They never say that they're looking for Daryl or for Maggie or anything. They're really there for another reason, but they're looking around anyway, just for GP. And Daryl wants to bust out from behind that hiding place and give this man the business, the sharp end of the business. And Maggie sort of calms him and shakes her head, no, don't do that. Let this man steal this food and get the freak out of here. And he does. And the man leaves. And so the guy leaves out. Maggie and Daryl come out. And she's like, Daryl, what gives? What's up? You haven't been able to look at me since you've been here, since you got back here. And he turns around. First of all, he wants to just talk about the fact that he really, really wants to gut this guy and kill this guy and get rid of this guy. And he is seething with anger. And that's when she mentions, you haven't looked at me since you've been here. And when he turns around, boy, he just breaks. And when he breaks, I broke. It was a moment because we all know Daryl is tough as nails. And when he apologized and said that he was so sorry, that it was his fault, that all of this happened with Glenn and Abraham. And we've seen everyone sort of mourn. We've seen everyone go through their grieving process or part of their grieving process, but Daryl. And so to see him break and cry in such a vulnerable way with Maggie of all people, I mean, Maggie can make you cry anyway. And she says it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. That was a really, really good scene, you guys. Very, very, very touching scene. Okay, so let's go to the doctor's office. That's why Simon and those are there. Remember, 3 episodes ago, Negan killed their doctor because it in a frame up. All right. So goes into the doctor's office, tells the doctor's office, you're needed over. Negan wants you with us now. And the doctor's like, listen, I got patients. Never says what patient, okay? I got patients I gotta take care of here. I cannot go with you. And he's like, uh, yeah, you will. Don't you guys have a doctor? Why do you need two doctors? And Simon does this stupid little face dance. You know, he's a jerk. He's such a jerk. Um, and why do I have to go with you guys? Don't you have a doctor? And he says, um, had a doctor basically, and he's saying you'll love it there. We have ice cream. The doctor, you know, tells Gregory, who's standing there looking at the floor, looking all ashamed because he doesn't have the balls to stand up to this guy and tell him, you can't take our doctor. Now, I don't know what good it would have done anyway for him to stand up because they would have taken the doctor anyhow, but still, everybody was looking for Gregory to do something more than what he was doing. Needless to say, all of this banter, the doctor's going with them. And he's not taking anything. They're just taking this guy and going. We got everything you need there. So, um, we see Gregory tells Simon he needs to have a word with him outside before they left the doctor's office. And he says, look, I don't want you to take the doctor because it's really, I need to keep the trust in my people's trust. I mean, we never know who's may try to take over if I lose trust. Well, who's going to take over? Okay. And thank goodness this coward did not, it had the presence of mind not to bring up Maggie or Daryl or any of them. He says, I'm just trying to think ahead. I'm just trying to be proactive. If we've got a good thing going, I'm very amicable with you guys. If somebody else were to come along and be the leader, he says, tell you what, this is what Simon says, tell you what. And he writes him sort of this promissory notice that if you find you're having any trouble here, anything comes up you want to let us know about, come and see me anytime. Well, how will I do that? How will I come and see you? He writes him like a little promissory note. Show this to the guys at the gate. I said to myself, that note probably say shoot me on the spot. um and I'll help you. We'll have some tequila, you know. Stupid Gregory puts the note in his pocket, tries one more time to keep the doctor from leaving there. And Simon asserts himself like, under no circumstances should you ask that question again. And that is when we see everybody watch the doctor being taken away. So let's go back to Sasha and Rosita. Sasha and Rosita have gone over this gate after starting a car fire and distracting walkers. They found a car to hotwire the car, peel off. They're on their way to kill Negan. Okay. So in this next scene, we see Rosita and Sasha in a building across from Negan's camp, and they are looking through a rifle scope. Sasha's looking through a rifle scope down into the camp, and she sees Eugene pointing and giving orders and instructions. And then she sits down. She shares this with Rosita, and Rosita's a little puzzled. She's like, well, maybe he's playing this role, going along to get along to survive. And Sasha was like, I don't know. And so Rosita is tying knots, and Sasha asks her to please teach her how to tie this knot, which she does. And then they have this moment where they talk. They talk about Rosita's past, how she learned bomb making and disarming and knot tying. And she just tells her, she learned from, various people, mostly men, and they always thought she was dumb, but she got learned everything she possibly could for them, and then she always bounced. And she sort of had this same relationship with Abraham, except that Abraham really saw that she was tough as nails and very resourceful, and he sort of trusted her in that way. And that is the relationship that they had. And they had these moments, she and Abraham, where he was hot and she was cold, and then she was hot and then he was cold. And then when they got to Alexandria, he fell into this lifestyle and he was all good, but she couldn't really do it. And when Sasha and Abraham left, set off on their adventure and left, she said she was pissed off. She was pissed off because he chose Sasha to go with him and not her. Y'all don't remember that from last season, but yeah. So she was mad about that. And it wasn't that he had a thing for Sasha at that time. That only developed after they had been on the road for a while. But I think it was because Rosita always gave this hard ass edge. And I think Abraham was over that. And so she regrets that she didn't allow herself to be happy when he was happy, and content when he was content. And she's sad about the fact that he never knew that she was sorry about that. And she tells Sasha she's never told anyone this stuff, and that you know, she was sharing this with her. She didn't know why she was sharing this with her. And Sasha sort of lamented about Abraham too. And she said he would have went out fighting, and that was one of the things that Negan robbed him of, was his ability to fight for himself, to go down fighting. And he didn't deserve that. And so Sasha tells you know Rosita that she's got her back. Rosita says that she's got Sasha back. In this conversation, too, Rosita tells Sasha that it wasn't Abraham's time. Sasha and Rosita looking through the scope again. They see the Saviors pull up from the hilltop with the doctor in the back. They see Negan come out and give the doctor a little bit of a hug and takes him on inside. And they weren't able to shoot him at this moment because there was too many people standing around, mostly the doctor for one. They didn't want to end up hitting him. And so a few moments later, they hear Eugene come over the walkie-talkie, and he is saying that they need more walkers, and this is per Negan, to put around the perimeter. Need more walkers ASAP. So I want everyone, all hands on deck, to scour the surrounding areas, buildings, everything, whatnot, so on and so forth. We need more walkers, too sweet. Now, when Eugene is doing this, he's doing it in this drone Eugene voice. First of all, he's calling himself Doctor, which I'm like, and next he's saying Negan, which I am. And so I'm signing off Eugene, otherwise known as Negan, which I am. He just was laying it in hard on this whole Negan situation. I was like, boy, oh boy. They think that Eugene is playing a role, but I'm like, if he's playing a role, he's playing the greatest role of his life. Because when I tell you he ups Negan's butt so far, it's a wonder he's not able to, peek out through his mouth. Like he is up there pretty far. Okay. So let's go back to the hilltop. We see this moment where Gregory summons Jesus. Jesus comes in and he tells Jesus that he wants to talk to him about, plans for what's going to happen next, giving job assignments. These new people need to pull their weight. And by the way, you got too many people in your trailer. It's a fire hazard. Really? Really, Ninja? A fire hazard? It's post-apocalyptic outside. There's no fire marshals coming over. You finally trying to be a leader, and this is what you do. Goodbye, Gregory. Um, and you know, uh, Jesus go ahead and shades him for filth and says, "Wow, Simon, you were so." he he says Simon must really have you feeling threatened. I'm surprised you didn't kneel like last time. You must really be threatened if you're trying to do all this. And Gregory tells him, listen, gives him a cool, slick threat. And Jesus said, you threatening me? And Gregory said, well, I'm just telling you that you never know what may be said or done. He feel like he got this secret note to get in the gate over at Negan's. And he wants to get slick at the mouth with Jesus. And Jesus tells him, don't threaten me. Do not threaten me. Guy walks in with tequila. He tells the guy to show Jesus the door. I can't wait for him to get his comeuppance. So as Jesus is walking out of Gregory's office, Daryl walks up and he's got his his arrow shooter on his back, and he says, "Where I want to know where Sasha and Rosita We see Eugene back at Negan's camp, walking out with another guy, talking in his, Doctor Negan slash Eugene tone about the gate and the perimeter, so on and so forth. The guy that he's with and trying to seem so important in front of gets shot right there next to him. Eugene goes down and he is like, up runs Rosita and Sasha, who's the one that shot this guy next to him, and says, cuts the gate and says, we're breaking you out. Let's go, let's go, let's go. He says, I'm not going anywhere with you guys. She says, come on, we're breaking you out. Let's go. And he says, I didn't ask you to break me out. I don't want this, you know. And he makes this reference to the fact that, you know, more coming. You shot this guy, but this is about to be something bigger. He goes back inside the building. And of course, Rosita's like, this idiot. But he wouldn't even be there, Rosita, if it wasn't for you. Okay. So Sasha tells Rosita that it's going to take a minute to pry the gate open. Keep an eye out. Rosita turns her back and she's got her gun. She's pointing. She's got her back to Sasha and keeping an eye out. Sasha goes through the gate. On the other side of the gate, she puts a bicycle lock on the gate where Rosita can't cut through it and can't get through it. And Rosita's like, what the flip? So Sasha's on the one side of the gate, on the outside, and um, Rosita's on the outside of the gate. Sasha's on the inside of the gate, inside Negan's camp, and she says, this is not your time. And you go now, and let me do this. Again, with this martyrdom, as she's running towards Negan camp, running towards the door, a guy comes through the door. She shoots him dead and goes on into the building. Now she's inside Negan's building. Okay. Some guys come out. Obviously, they see this body. They're going to see this body. And Rosita has to gather her things and get out. That's what she does. She runs. And when she gets out there, she is running and she is crying. She's outside and she looks up, and in the shadows she sees Daryl. And that's the end of the episode. You guys, I mean, this is what I'm saying. When they find those bodies, it's gonna be on like Donkey Kong. It's gonna be on. Like, they have set this thing in motion to the point where, what are we gonna do? Now, we will not see, I don't think, what's how this is going to play out. I don't think we're going to see this in the next episode. I think in this next episode we're going to see what's going on with Rick and getting more guns and all of that. All right, so we're going to have to hold our thought here, but we know that logically this means that not episode 15 but episode 16 is probably going to be, if not our season finale, the episode right before the season finale. So we've probably got another 2 to 3 episodes before this season is over. And we know that because of what Rosita and Sasha have set in place. Okay, you guys tell me what you think about this episode. What did you guys think about Daryl's apology? What did you think about the whole Gregory situation, his exchange with Jesus? What do you think about Jesus being gay? Oh, cracks me up, you guys. Anyway, really, really good episode, full of emotional moments. We see this soft side of Rosita finally. And we also get to see Sasha sort of rob Rosita of her opportunity to kill Negan herself, which is what has been driving her all this time. So I'm looking forward to next week's episode. I think we're going to see Team Rick go into the women's camp. And hopefully we will see their alliance grow even bigger with the women joining them. Hopefully that is what the end result of this is. So let me know what you guys think. Please, please, please remember to subscribe to my channel. I do this every single solitary Sunday, and I would love to have you as a subscriber to my channel. Remember to give me a thumbs up, and also remember to comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think, okay? Until next time, I'll holla.